Good morning to all of you. I'm VIKRANT BHOSALE. I teach ethics, some part of CSAT, that is RC reasoning, and AC paper in Unique Academy. By background, I'm a mechanical engineer. My area of interest includes public administration, sociology, philosophy, and psychology. The purpose of today's session is to give you an overview of paper 4 of general studies of main examination, civil services. So first, I would like to know about your background and just profile of your class. So how many of you are having science background? Okay. How many of you have done in humanities? Okay, and rest people are commerce or engineers. Okay, all right. How many of you have been looking at civil services as the only career option? Very good. Now, how many of you have read notification of civil services examination completely? Very good. So when you have read that notification, have you gone through the guidelines, particularly what they are looking into a candidate? Have you read those guidelines given in the notification? What they are looking into, how you should write the exam, about AC paper, about main examination, about personality test, right? Have you gone through? Okay. Do you know when this paper was introduced? Any idea? This GS4 ethics, in which year was it introduced in the scheme of civil services main examination? No idea. All right. It was introduced in 2013. Now, can you tell me, is this subject taught formally in schools and colleges? Like history, geography, polity, economics. Is this subject known as ethics taught in schools and colleges, unless you opt for philosophy as your option? No, it is not. And that's why, because it is unfamiliar to most of the people, there are many myths and misunderstandings and misperceptions about this paper. If you have listened to toppers talk about how they had prepared this paper, their opinion lie on two extremes. On one extreme, one topper says that he did not do anything special for ethics. It is a paper to be written out of your common sense. I'm getting my point. So there is no specialized or extra studies needed. What you need to know is only elements of your syllabus, that's all. The rest of the writing is common sense. Another topper, who is on the other extreme, he says he used to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning. He used to meditate on the values, principles of ethics, lives of great people. He used to understand their principles, theories, and then he also used to think about how to apply them in real life. Now the reality lies somewhere in. Are you getting my point? So whenever you listen to any topper talk or any advice, you should take it with a pinch of salt. The major guideline for your exam comes from UPSC itself. So one is notification. Second is your previous year questions. And third, your basic reference books. If you are able to triangulate these three, then you can easily make out the picture of the exam. Are you getting my point? Big picture, what you say, a structure of the exam and the demand of it. Now, as far as ethics is concerned, what is your idea of ethics? How do you look at ethics? What is ethics basically? Any common sensical perception? So when I often ask this in class, people say ethics is something which tells us about what is right and wrong. Now, being adult people, all of you, I assume adult, 18 plus, right? So need I tell you what is right and wrong as far as your life is concerned? Shall I teach you what is right and wrong, correct, incorrect, ethical and unethical? Are you not capable enough to decide about your own life? Yes, you are. The life experiences that you have got in your life are enough for you to make decisions. But when it comes to social life, when it comes to political life, when it comes to economic aspect, the matter is not as simple as it looks. It is complex, it has many layers, it has many dimensions. And then making ethical decisions becomes a tricky affair. Are you getting my point? So I'm not doubting your capability to decide right and wrong as far as your own life is concerned or your close circle is concerned. But when that circle expands, when it includes your city, when it includes your state, when it includes your country and also other countries, you need to be more adept. You need to be more aware of the different dimensions that are involved in morality. And that is what highlights the need to study ethics thoroughly. Are you getting my point? So the first opinion which one topper had said that it is a subject which you can tackle with common sense. So let me tell you, common sense is sometimes riddled with errors, prejudices, and you should not succumb to all this. Are you getting my point? We'll discuss further that why this paper has been introduced. Okay, but keep in mind this paper also reflects your personality to the examiner. He or she comes to know about you after reading your writing or your answer. So you need to be extra careful about what you are writing in ethics paper. The tone, the words, the way you are making judgments as far as case studies are concerned. Are you getting my point? So let's start discussing some of the finer elements of the subject and try to get overview of the subject. In the session today itself, I will try to tell you where to start, how to start, what is the material to be used. Okay, what are the do's and don'ts you should keep in mind while preparing this paper. And this will further help you to plan your studies as far as ethics is concerned. All right. Altogether, we will need 30 sessions to cover the syllabus. And in the 31st session, there will be a small test and discussion based on this. Okay, so my method of giving you an introduction is to start with some of the cases, which are, though appear familiar, but they are not that simple. So let's start with this case, a simple case. Suppose you are a police officer and you have got a person and you suspect him to be terrorist, and you also suspect that this person knows the location of a powerful bomb kept in your city, which if goes off, it will kill millions of people. So my simple question is, will you torture him to get that information? Now see, you are not going to kill him. You are just going to torture him so that you will get the location of the bomb and you will defuse it in time. So will you do it? What do you think? As a police officer, what will be your stand? Will you avoid torture or will you resort to torture because you have limited time? How many of you think that you will resort to torture to save millions of lives? Raise your hands. Now, this is a decision where you cannot wait forever, right? You have to make instant decisions. So how many of you will resort to torture? Please let me know. Okay, all right. Now, what is the logic behind taking this decision? How would you justify this decision? If I ask you to justify, what will be your reasons? How will you justify this decision? Try. No. Now, let me tell you. In every class, you have to be, responsive. That's how you come to know about your viewpoints, about your mistakes, about your own reasons. That's how they will be corrected. That's how interaction updates us about what is right and wrong. One-way delivery will never help you understand what is morality. So how will you justify the decision of torturing the suspected terrorist to get the location of them? How will you justify it?
So I think if I will be taking the decision, there will be black and white in it. There will be some gray area, like how strongly my evidence in that moment requires that black how strongly my evidence tells that. It's like,
So evidence will tell you whether to torture or not,
yeah, like if it's a 90,
and not the urgency.
but if that person is the wrong person, then I will get nothing by torturing that person. If my evidence proves that it's a 90 and above person, that is the person, and I can justify that, why I do.
Okay. Any other reason why to torture that person? Language is not barrier. You can communicate in Marathi, you can communicate in English, you can communicate in Hindi. So don't feel awkward to speak. Marathi मध्ये पण सांगू शकता, no issue. What reasons will you give if you decide to torture that person to save millions of lives? काय वाटतं?
एक person आहे त्याची एक suspected आहे. जर शिक्षा दिली तर justify एवढं सारं
Correct. So it is like, which consequences you prefer. On one hand, you have impending death of millions of people, which would happen if the bomb goes off. Correct? Are you getting my point? On the other hand, you are not going to kill that person. You are going to simply torture him to get the information. So there is a school of thought in ethics which is based on this thinking, and it is known as consequentials, which looks at consequences and tells you do this because these consequences are better than these consequences. Are you getting my point? But again, this school of thought is not perfect. Rather, no theory is perfect, and that's why you need multiple theories. So let's have a twist. Now you have decided to torture, you torture him, but he speaks nothing, not even pleads guilty. Not guilty. वो कुछ भी नहीं बोल रहा. Had he been innocent, he would have said, "Sir, why are you torturing me? I have nothing to do with the case." Are you getting my point? वो कह देता ना फिर, वो कुछ भी नहीं बोल रहा है, and that only strengthens your suspicion that yes, he knows something. But now you realize that because he's so trained to bear the torture, he's not going to speak at all. Then you have another way. You come to know about his family, and he has a 3-year-old daughter, cute little daughter. And if you do something to her in front of him, he will speak like a parrot. Now, my question is, those who raised hands earlier, will you torture his daughter to make him speak? क्या करोगे? टॉर्चर करोगे उसको, उसके लड़की को? Yes. Now what is happening now? Because simple equation that millions of lives versus one life is no longer working now. So what changed? Again, if I ask you reason, you may give commonsensical answers like, okay, she's innocent. She has nothing to do with situation. Are you getting my point? But is that enough justification to not to torture her? Is that a qualitative answer? And that's why only commonsensical understanding of syllabus and content is not enough. You need to study ethics as a subject. Are you getting my point? You need to understand various viewpoints, their shortcomings, when to justify what. These already frameworks, ideas are already given. You need to use only those lenses in exam. That's it. Are you getting my point? Okay, let's take another case. So, what is your opinion about this second question? Is it wrong to commit suicide? What do you think? How many of you think it is wrong to commit suicide? Raise your hand. I will assume rest of the people are thinking that it is not wrong to commit suicide. So it's like black and white. So how many of you think that it is wrong to commit suicide? Raise your hand. Okay, now if I ask you justification, how will you justify this? It is wrong to commit suicide. How will you justify this? No rights. Where it is written people don't have right to kill themselves? Is it written somewhere? How you decide that people don't have right to decide about their own life? But not to kill. Is it like that? Do you know a few years back in our country, suicide was a crime. If a person fails in suicide, he used to send to jails. Is it not humorous thing? Ironical? What? Correct. But now that is decriminalized. As a society, we have realized our own mistakes. That the person who commits suicide doesn't need punishment. He needs counseling. He needs help. So what does that indicate? Maturity. We are becoming mature. But what is your opinion about suicide? Do you think it is wrong? Why? Can be sorted out. This is what you think. But have you put yourself in the position of that person? He or she might be thinking this is the only way to solve my problem. So this may indicate a lack of empathy on your part. We are going to study what is empathy in further, syllabus. But don't you think that saying that this is not the only solution and the problem can be solved, does it not sometimes a sign of lack of empathy? You are not able to put yourself into the shoes of that person and try to understand what kind of problem that person is facing. No, why? Okay, all right. Now I'll give you perspective. You tell me same thing again. All right. In sociology, there is a thinker known as Emil Durkheim. He has studied suicide. Correct. Not what you said. Not. Kill themselves. Are they permitted to kill themselves? In
There are some cases in which a person is allowed to kill himself or the other person is allowed to assist him killing.
that is different. That is different. I'm not talking about medical condition or something. Forget it. In sociology, Emil Durkheim has studied suicides and he has categorized suicide into four broad categories. One kind of suicide is known as altruistic suicide. What is altruistic? Done for the sake of others. So in old days, in polar region, old people used to sacrifice themselves into cold when there was scarcity of food, so that the remaining food would last for the remaining people. Are you getting this example? Or even soldiers sacrifice their life for the sake of nation. We call it sacrifice, but that is actually a suicide and we glorify it. Is it not? Soldiers kill themselves for the sake of country. Don't they? We call it balidan, sacrifice. But conceptually, that is what? Killing oneself for some purpose. Is it not? That is altruistic suicide. Now, would you call such suicide as unethical suicide? Or mother sometimes kill herself to save her own child. That is also suicide. Would you call such suicide as unethical suicide? Okay, forget this one. There is another category he told us, fatalistic suicide. And this happens because of excessive rules and regulations. So it was observed among the slaves when there was slavery. Slaves have not had even a basic freedom to speak, to express themselves. Their children, when they were little, were sold like animals in the market. So when such excessive regulations, such excessive operation was there, they used to commit suicide because they had no any other means. So would you call such suicide as unethical when the system itself is making them to do it? Are you getting my point? Okay, there is another suicide, interesting one. Anomic suicide. Have you heard this word, anomy? Anomy. A-N-O-M-I-E. Anomy. Anomy का मतलब है lawlessness. when the laws, restrictions, or the meaning of life disappears suddenly, it creates a vacuum. And because people fail to make sense of life, they decide to end it. Now, it may appear funny to you, but few years back in Bangalore, an IT couple, software professional couple, had committed a suicide by writing a note that they had enjoyed whatever they wanted to in their life. Now there is nothing to do in life, and that's why they are happily ending the life. Now, it may appear bizarre to you. Okay, let me tell you another example. There was a chief minister of United Andhra. This Telangana and Andhra and other parts were together. So his name was YSR Reddy. He was from Congress. When his helicopter crashed and he died, many of his fans committed suicide. Anomaly, complete lawlessness, vacuum creates a tendency to end the life. Now, how many suicide will you justify and which kind of suicide will you not? That you have to decide. You cannot justify each and every suicide as right or each and every suicide as wrong. You need to use lenses which these subjects give you. And then your decision will be more rational, more factual based, more objective. It won't be subjective to your own opinions. Are you getting my point? So these deficits of commonsensical decisions are fulfilled or met by ethics. And that's why you need to study ethics. Is that clear? I'm just trying to define why aspect of the subject. Because without that, you cannot start study, is it not? Even in your interview, they ask, why do you want to join civil service? It's a standard question. Because that decides the quality of your devotion, the quality of your preparation, the quality of your study. So why aspect should always be. Now, let's start with two basic questions. What is ethics? So write down a functional definition of ethics. Ethics is a systematic study of human actions from the point of view of their rightfulness or wrongfulness. Rightfulness or wrongfulness. Now see, this is a functional definition. Okay, this is not enough in itself because we are going to explore what are the various dimensions of ethics later on. But for the sake of today's session, this is enough. Now, by keeping this definition in mind, next question comes, why its study has become important in this era rather than earlier? Why the UPSC decided to introduce this paper in 2013 rather than before 2013? Why do you think? पहले क्यों नहीं आया पेपर? अब क्यों आया? Why so late? Do you think there was no corruption earlier? Before 2013? Corruption था ना? फिर अब क्यों आया है पेपर? Why do you think it has become so important to introduce this paper in the scheme of examination? Any idea? Any guess? Do you know who recommended first to introduce this paper? Any idea? Now let me tell you, highlight one aspect very important at the beginning of itself. In the preparation of examination, you won't get spoon feeding at all. Don't even expect that. Many things should come from your own initiative. Suppose you have decided to give your 30+ years to this career, then at least you should have done some homework of this career. Are you getting my point? So at least you should have spent some time on understanding what is administration, what is public administration, what is Indian administration, why I'm writing this exam, who has recommended this pattern, why this pattern has been recommended, what is the basic thought behind this, that you need to explore. So basic question, इसका study क्यों important हो गया, पहले क्यों नहीं था, बताओ. ये आपको खुद को explore करना. You have to take initiative to understand this area, to understand this field, to understand this examination. So बताओ, guess कर सकते हो क्यों अभी important हुआ है, पहले क्यों नहीं था इतना? Any idea? Any guess? Guess करो. Even if you don't know, you can guess it out. सोचो थोड़ा, क्यों हुआ होगा? 21st सेंचुरी में ही क्यों इंट्रोड्यूस कर दिया इस सब्जेक्ट को, पहले क्यों नहीं था एथिक्स? Any justification?
Maybe we realized from our own mistakes that ethics should be more important in the administration. Like when we implemented many methods, like in South, there is community policing is more emphasized. And in the 21st century, like more emphasis at the international level on human rights, and maybe that's why we decided to sign it to more.
Okay, but wide case. All right. Okay. All right. So do you know when first committee was appointed on the subject of corruption in India? In 1960, Santhanam Committee. Are getting my point? So corruption was identified as early as even independence, even before independence. So it is nothing new. Then why we suddenly decided that we should look at values of candidate even at the inception stage itself? ऐसा क्यों हमने डिसाइड किया? पहले क्यों नहीं हुआ? करप्शन तो पहले से था. People knew it, even policy maker knew it, even reformers knew it. They have written reports about it. But why change happened in the scheme of examination in 2030, in 21st century? What has changed? Okay, in the subsequent lecture, you are going to tell me after doing some homework. Would you do it? Google is going to help you, but not a lot. You need to read at least few websites. Okay, all right. But one hint I'll give you. Whenever any change happens in administrative system, it is in response to change environment around it. So something has changed in our environment, which was not earlier there. पहले नहीं था, वो अब हो रहा है. इसकी वजह से एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सिस्टम भी बदलता है. सो वो क्या हो रहा है ये आपको बता, जो पहले नहीं था. ऑलराइट, ओके. नाउ we will discuss 5 major things today with focus. उसमें पहला है how to prepare. इसमें 3 चीजें आती है. One is syllabus. सिलेबस का नेचर क्या है, उसका डिमांड क्या है. सेकंड, क्वेश्चन पेपर कैसे होता है, टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस दैट आर आस्क्ड, देयर डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, मार्क्स, वर्ड्स एंड ऑल. एंड थर्ड, व्हाट आर द रिसोर्सेज और बुक्स यू शुड रेफर to prepare the paper. Second part is about competitive exam, because it is not enough to score minimum threshold, right? It is competitive exam after all. No matter how much you try, out of lakhs of people, only few hundred will be selected. So you need to be ahead of the others. So for that you need 2 things. One is to understand the demand of the exam, objectives of the question. वो क्या आपसे पूछ रहे, क्या डिमांड कर रहे, उनका पर्पस क्या है, वो आपको कैसे इवैल्यूएट कर रहे. एंड सेकंड, हाउ टू फुलफिल दोज एक्सपेक्टेशंस. ओके, अगर आपने उनके एक्सपेक्टेशन फुलफिल कर दिए, देन द एग्जामिनर विल गिव यू बेटर मार्क्स देन द अदर्स. So these are the 5 points we are going to discuss today. First 3 will help you to make sense of the paper and examination, but last 2 will help you to prepare how to score well in GS. Is that clear? Okay, let's start with first syllabus. Take a look at this table and tell me what do you understand by this. In your first impression about this table. Online people, you can also participate in our discussions. In chat box, your replies are welcome. Okay, so you can write in chat box. So what is your first impression of this table? Any idea? क्या है इसमें पहला क्या दिखाई दे रहा है आपको? What is your first big look of the table? काय वाटतंय बघितल्यानंतर? कुछ तो आपका फर्स्ट इंप्रेशन होगा ना? Even though we call this paper as ethics paper, but ethics is not the only part of the syllabus. Are you getting my point? There are 3 distinct subjects or disciplines in the GS. So one of which is moral philosophy. We call it ethics, Naitik Tattvagyan. Okay, left hand side. Then second discipline, middle, social psychology. And third one, public administration. So this paper is interdisciplinary in nature. Why interdisciplinary? Because in other paper, there are different subjects in one paper. Like in first paper, you have Indian society, history, art and culture. But they are not interdisciplinary in nature. Are you getting my point? There will be independent question on each subject. But here, sometimes a question is based on all 3. One question based on all 3. Or case study is based on all 3. Are you getting my point? And each discipline has its own demand, own perspective, how to look at the reality. Okay, each discipline, each subject gives you a perspective, how to solve the problems, how to look at the problems. So for example, this first one, moral philosophy, it's primarily concerned with telling you what is right and wrong and how to decide it. Are you getting my point? So ये जो ethics है पहला लेफ्ट वाला कॉलम moral philosophy, इसका प्राइमरी कंसर्न क्या है? आपको ये बताना किसको राइट बोलना है, किसको रॉन्ग बोलना है, एंड ये कैसे डिसाइड करना है. What are the different theories, thinkers who have contributed? What are the different sources of ethics? Where does ethics come in human life? That is first topic, ethics and human interface. What is the philosophical basis to have a governance? ये जो सब है पहले वाले कॉलम में, लेफ्ट वाले कॉलम में, ये आपको क्या बताने की कोशिश कर रहा है? What it trying to tell you? How to decide right and wrong and what it is. And again, as I told you, no theory is perfect. So you need to study different theories. Another interesting fact of your syllabus is nowhere they have mentioned name of any thinker, whether Indian or Western. If you have gone through original syllabus, we have just pro-such it. So nowhere they have mentioned a name of any thinker. So आपको decide करना है कि किसको पढ़ना है, किसको नहीं पढ़ना है, because you cannot study all thinkers. That's not possible, and that is not even required. So how will you decide कौन से thinker पढ़ने हैं, कौन से नहीं है? बताओ, हाँ? Previous year questions. But what if you had been in 2013 then? कैसे decide करते थे? Correct. The thinkers who have got wider influence, and even though some of them are ancient, they are still relevant. And only these thinkers are handful thinkers. You need not study each and every thinker, whether Indian or Western. Are you getting my point? So that again requires a focus, narrow down to few thinkers, their theories, their application, their drawbacks, their background, everything. Okay, so altogether this part, left part, is going to constitute 50% of our course. So out of 30 lectures, we will need 15 lectures for moral philosophy. Okay, so have you understood the primary objective of this component of syllabus? That it is trying to tell you what is ethical, what is unethical, and how to decide it, and what are the theories and thinkers going to help you out. What are the sources of ethics? What are their limitations, and how we should use them? All these concerns will be discussed in first part. Is that clear? Okay. Second वाला जो है social psychology, उसका focus अलग है. Its focus is how a person behaves when he or she is part of the group. Are you getting my point? So it is not concerned with right and wrong. Keep in mind. Ethics, morality, ये इसमें नहीं आता है. इसमें क्या आता है? Causal explanation of a person's behavior in the context of social influence. So do you accept that society influences us to behave in a certain way? Yes. So let me give you an example. How many of you have been hostelized? Have lived in hostel or living in hostel? Right. So how we behave in hostel compared to how we behave in home? Is that behavior same? Sometimes it is different, is it not? What happens when power goes off in hostel in the night? How people behave? Have you observed how they behave? They become the wildest animal on the earth, right? Is it not? They take the benefit of darkness, invisibility. Is it not? All kind of pranks are played on roommates, then other hostel mates. But imagine, same situation is there, but only one person is there in the hostel. Power failure हुआ है और एक ही लड़का है या लड़की. Now will he behave like that? वैसे behave करेगा जैसे ग्रुप में होता है when other people are present? No, he would start recalling all the stories of ghosts that are shared in hostel, and he would pray that power should return as soon as back. Why? Because group is absent. Are you getting my point? Okay, how many of you have traveled in Mumbai local? Okay, now there is a special reserved coaches for women, is it not? What if a man enters by mistake? क्या होगा उस कोच में अगर गलती से भी रश आवर में एक आदमी घुस जाता है? पहले तो वो घुस नहीं पाएगा. Okay, at the entry itself, women will throw him out. अगर वैसे भी घुस गया तो अंदर उसका क्या होगा? Nobody will take responsibility. Are you getting my point? Now imagine he is now entering into the same coach, but only one woman is there. Will she do him harm? Will she be aggressive? As aggressive as she would have been had there been a group? No. Why? Because the leverage comes from the group. Have you observed yourself when you are shopping with friends? जब भी आप शॉपिंग के लिए जाते हो with the group, have you observed yourself to what extent you bargain aggressively? सामने वाला 1000 से शुरुआत कर रहा है तो आप 100 से शुरुआत करते हो. क्यों? Because there is a group to support you. है ना? But this doesn't happen when you are alone. Would you start from 100? No, you'll judge the shopkeeper, his mindset, your needs. You'll inquire around 5 places and then you'll bargain. Is it not? Now, the serious manifestation of this phenomenon is seen in communal riots, gang rapes. Are you getting my point? Mob lynching. Ordinary people who would not have thought of killing other person, raping other person, become a beast. Why? Group. As an administrator, tomorrow you are not going to deal with individuals alone. Keep in mind. You are going to deal with groups as well, especially on special occasions like festivals, disasters, riots. So unless you are able to anticipate a group psychology and their response, you cannot incorporate preventive. I'm getting my point. And that's why whenever huge events like Kumbh Mela and others are well organized without any untoward incident in India, administration is congratulated. Because that is an uphill task for them. They need to anticipate certain things and incorporate preventive measures before things happen. So have you seen crowd management of such huge event, which was failure in Kharghar? Are you getting my point? Kharghar में जो हुआ, वहाँ ये preventive नहीं था. They have not anticipated that what a group would succumb to. है ना? ये group behavior का ही outcome है, individual outcome नहीं. तो समझ में आ रहा है? So crowd management को अगर आप देखोगे, they have a very appropriate understanding of social psychology. Now again, social psychology itself is a big subject, as good as independent discipline. If you read books of social psychology, they're big and there are a variety of topics. But out of these all topics, they have chosen only two. One is attitude, and second is emotional intelligence. Because these are the key concepts around which social psychology revolves, which has significant influence on people's behavior, especially group behavior, not individual psychology. Are you getting the demand of this second discipline? So this discipline will never discuss what is right and wrong. It will only try to explain people's behavior by keeping in mind social factors like religion, like upbringing, family, education, media, even neighborhood, culture. Are you getting my point? So आपको ये tone भी identify करना in your question. Whether this question belongs to ethics. So अगर ethics का होगा तो आपको क्या पूछेंगे? Stand ले लो, बताओ right wrong क्या है, justify करो. लेकिन social psychology में होगा तो आपको stand लेना नहीं है. आपको सिर्फ explain करना है, ये है तो क्यों है? ये होना चाहिए नहीं, ये नहीं होगा. Are you getting my point? And now third discipline, that is public administration. Now in public administration, once you are getting selected, you are going to spend substantial part of your life in the system. And by using systems like rules, regulations, procedures, you are supposed to get things done. That is the task of administration, to get things done. Are you getting my point? So in what way system helps you to solve the problems of morality? That understanding is checked. So how we decide ethics in administration? That is the primary concern of third discipline. And that's why they are focused on basic concepts like values. What are the foundational values or values required for civil services? What is aptitude? What is probity in governance? All these things will be discussed. Are you getting my point? So ये जो third है, इसमें systemic issues है. Individual पे focus नहीं है. Are you getting my point? Individual पे अगर focus भी होगा, तो value point of view. It is not from the person point. उसमें values क्या है? क्या होनी चाहिए? उसने अगर काम करना है तो कौन से वैल्यू के बेसिस पे करना है? समझता है? I'm getting my point. So each discipline has its own demand. So ये जो थर्ड वाला है, इसमें सिस्टम के एंगल से ही आपको सोचना. मैं ऐसे करूंगा, ये सवाल नहीं. सिस्टम ने क्या करना चाहिए, ये टोन होना चाहिए. Is that clear? And as soon as a question is asked to you, you should be able to locate that question in a particular part of your syllabus. Means linking question to the syllabus. That exercise should happen as early as possible. So this is in a nutshell about syllabus. Any question, any doubt? Have you understood what we discussed so far about syllabus? समझ में आ गया? I'm just trying to give you bird's view of the syllabus, not a nuts and bolts. So have you understood there are three basic disciplines in your GS4? Sometimes questions are asked on all disciplines. That's why this paper is interdisciplinary, not like other papers. They ask questions on independent subject. But here sometimes questions are based on all three disciplines, like case studies. They have ethics, they have social psychology, as well as public administration. Sometimes you should be able to locate the question in appropriate discipline. Is that clear? Okay, now let's take a look at structure of question paper. Okay, so please take a look at the table. Observe this and tell me your basic observations. Correct. So section A is theory section. Section B is application of theory section. Okay, you don't have to write theory explicitly in section B. But in section A, you can mention theory, you can mention theoretical points, and then you can write the answer. Okay, another basic observation is both sections are given equal weightage, right? 125 marks each. So 250 marks का paper है. Total amount of time available for this is 3 hours, right? Now, can you tell me total number of words that you are supposed to write in this paper, roughly? कितने words आपको लिखने होंगे 3 hours में? Minimum questions कितने हैं? Number of questions 18. है ना? Minimum 12 in section A and 6 in section B. So 18 questions are there. In section A, 12 into 150. So that is more than 1500, 1800, right? And in section B, 6 into 250 words. So that is again 1500. So more than 3000 words you need to write in 3 hours. Is that clear? So if I take say 3000 words, roughly, even though they are more, then in 1 hour, how many words you are supposed to write? 3300 divided by 3. So 1100. Let's take 1000. 60 minutes, 1000 words. So 6 minutes, 100 words. Are you getting my point? Right? So 1 minute, how many words? 15. 15 to 16. Is it not? So in 1 minute, you should be able to write 15 to 16 words. Means one complete sentence or 2 sentences, depending on the length of sentence. 4 seconds में एक word होना चाहिए. So judge yourself. Have you written that much stuff so far in your exam? And in addition to that, you need to write 2 papers in 1 day. So 6 hours का stamina चाहिए आपका consistently लिखने. And that doesn't come automatically. Let me tell you from experience of aspirants. Sometimes I have seen the situation that aspirants know what to write, but they are not able to write because their hand get paralyzed or rigid after 1.5 hours because they have not built the stamina. So आपको क्या करना है from the day one? Start writing 1 page a day at least. I'm saying कुछ भी लिखो, कहाँ से भी लिखो, मन से लिखो, लेकिन 1 page. It's like building stamina for marathon. ये suddenly नहीं होगा, building. Okay, लिखने की आदत डालो, और अच्छे से लिखने की आदत डालो. ठीक है, writing is going to be a key factor in the success and failure of this examination. Is that clear? So these are the basic things I wanted to highlight. Now, look at section A. There are 4 broad categories of questions. one which is most favorite, often asked every year. 3 quotes are asked in the paper. So quote-based question. So in quote-based question, we will give an independent session for this. They are asking you interpretation of the quotes of the great people, as well as application of it. Sometimes the question is what this quote mean to you, and sometimes what this quote mean in the present context, or how this quote is applicable to current situation. Are you getting my point? So even quote-based questions are not completely theoretical. They ask you relevant examples. So who said is not important. What said is important. So you need not write even one line about the originator of it. So suppose the quote is by Mahatma Gandhi. Even if you don't write anything about Mahatma Gandhi, but interpret the quote correctly, still you will get the better marks. Are you getting my point? Second category is examples. So here they give you concept, but the major focus is not on concept, but on examples. So do you understand application or relevance of this concept in current affairs? That is what they are asking. So here they are checking your general awareness about ethics. Where does ethics lie in social affairs, current affairs? Third category is concept, definitions, interlinkage. So when they ask you definitions, you can straight away write what is directly in definition. But when they're asking you your understanding, for example, what do you understand by values? Then you cannot write definition of values, but you can write your own understanding of that definition. So you need to paraphrase the definition. Are you getting my point? And sometimes they are giving you 2 or more concepts and they are asking you interlinkage. So for example, once they have asked, in what way emotional intelligence helps a person in taking ethical decisions? Are you getting my point? So here there is a linkage between 2 concepts. That emotional intelligence is one, ethical decision making is second, and what is the relation between these 2? And last, application to public and private life. Means whatever you have learned as a theory, are you able to use that to solve some problems that is being observed, that is being evaluated? So even though we call section A as theory section, it is not completely theory section. Okay, it is also application oriented section. Now, if you go to section B, every year since 2013, they have asked only 6 case studies. Sometimes for 20 marks, sometimes for 25 marks. If they are for 20 marks, then the word limit is 250. If they are for 25 marks, the word limit is 300. Now, case studies are mainly classified into 2 broad categories. One is option-based case study, where you are asked to solve some problems. Sometimes they give you options. Sometimes you are also asked to create options. But sometimes instead of asking options, they are asking you course of action and its justification. Are you getting my point? Then there are issue-based case studies. Issue means larger issue faced by Indian society. So here they are not expected you to solve the problem, but you are expected to explain the problem, its causes, its factors, and what as a policy can government do or should do. Is that clear? So individual cannot solve the problem in this last category, but in these 3 categories, an individual is supposed to solve the problem. Is that clear? All right. So this is in brief about your question paper. Okay. In section A, you need to handle at least 12 questions. So roughly, you get 7 minutes per question in section 7.5, because 90 minutes are there for section A. And in section B, again 90 minutes are available, and 6 case studies are there. So roughly, you get 15 minutes per case study to read, understand, analyze, and then to write into 50 words. Is that clear? समझ में आ रहा है आपको time management and distribution of marks, distribution of question, category of question. Are you getting my point? All right. Now we will take a look at some of the questions for your sake of understanding. कैसे आते हैं? ये देखिए. पहला टॉपिक है ethics and human interface. Take a look at these 2 questions and tell me whether you can understand and write from commonsensical observation or not. So tell me, can you write answer to these questions from common sense? Values and ethics, is it out of common sense? No, you need precision. Second question जो है, which is implying importance of ethics in professional life. Would you alone write from common sense? You need to be aware of professional ethics. Is it not? Why there is a term known as professional ethics? Not only professional competence. ये जो second वाला है, even though you can write out of common sense, but don't you think that the person who knows what thinkers have said about good life would write it in better way than common sense का answer? क्योंकि good life के बारे में thinkers ने कुछ तो बोला होगा, and there is a discrepancy between current notion of good life and their version of good life, and why this is happening in modern times. Are you getting my point? So I'm not completely saying that you cannot write out of common sense, but writing out of common sense has its own pitfalls. Are you getting my point? So that's why you should study ethics deeply. Okay. Second is theory part or thinker part. Let's take a look. देखो समझ में आ रहा है क्या क्वेश्चन? How many of you think that this first question is commonsensical one? Is it not? The good of an individual is contained in the good of all. Is it not commonsensical? Yes. But if you know this exact statement is implied in some theory, would you not write better points? No. A theory comes out of this principle that you should seek good of all before you should seek good of one. I'm getting my point. सेकंड वाला जो है जॉन रॉल्स, ये आप मन से लिख सकते हो क्या? वो स्पेसिफिक भी है, कंटेक्चुअल भी है. सिर्फ जॉन रॉल्स मालूम होना ये भी काफी नहीं. यू नीड टू कोरिलेट इट विद इंडियन सिचुएशन, देन ओनली यू कैन राइट. सो अगेन एप्लीकेशन है, सिर्फ जॉन रॉल्स नहीं है, सिर्फ सोशल जस्टिस नहीं है. थर्ड में देखो, you can write this from emotion point of view also. Why? Because anger is an emotion. Does it not? But you can also write from ethics point of view. Because they are also implying correct understanding, rational thinking. How emotions interfere in rational thinking. That is what Gandhi is trying to imply through this quote. Are you getting my point? So as soon as you come across any question, you should be able to locate it in syllabus. Okay, this is about moral philosophy. Let's take a look at social psychology. Now, first question is interesting. Is it the job of bureaucrat to motivate people to come and join politics? No. Then why are they asking this question to you? That has nothing to do with your role that you are going to perform. So ये सवाल आपको क्यों पूछा है? बताओ. हाँ. Correct. No, that's not the purpose. The purpose is very clever. They want to understand your perspective about politics. How you look at the politics. Are you the kind of guy who says politics is all dull? Politics is all bad? If your perspective is like that, would you be able to work successfully with politicians? No. So they want to understand your perspective about politics. Is it not? It is not about young people, it is about you. All entire paper is about you. They want to assess you. They want to see who you are before you join the civil service. Is it not? Many times it has been observed in many questions, they are not giving you single question like in second. They are giving you multiple questions. So in ethics, there is a little scope to write introduction and conclusion because the word limit is 150 in section. So you have to start directly hitting the bullseye. Or getting my point. Hitting the bullseye means directly addressing the question instead of giving, prelude and introduction. No, that scope is not there. Is that clear? So आपको ये भी समझना है demand क्या है. Okay, ethics in public administration देखो. Now in this particular area, questions are very specific. You cannot write from your own understanding, common sensical understanding. आपको वो terms मालूम होनी चाहिए, आपको वो jargon मालूम होनी चाहिए, आपको उसके definition मालूम होनी चाहिए. System में अभी उसके बारे में क्या कह रहे हैं, वो भी मालूम होना चाहिए. And for that, you need to study government reports. Is that clear? ये समझ में आ रहा है आपको? ये जो सवाल आ रहे हैं आपको, ये authoritative text से आनी चाहिए, not out of common sensical understanding. और ये authoritative text क्या है? Government reports, institutional reports. Is that clear? Okay, all right. Now enough about syllabus, enough about question paper and questions. Now let's go for resources. Okay. Okay, one thing, case study. एक case study पढ़ लो, you'll get an idea. Case study कैसे आता है. Is this familiar situation in our society where people use influence to get access to confidential information and they use that information to make profit? अभी आपने ये जो कोकन में शुरू है प्रोटेस्ट रिफाइनरी के बारे में, उसमें कुछ न्यूज़ पढ़ी है आपने? Some people had bought land in Konkan. And now they are selling it back to government. But these people are not native of Konkan. How could they do it? बताओ. जहां रिफाइनरी होने वाली है वहां का ही लैंड उन्होंने पहले ही परचेस किया है. और अब वो they had purchased it for peanuts, small amounts. Now they're selling back at a huge rate. How could they do it? Same situation. When the information of the huge project is leaked prior and people take advantage, they make profit out of it. Then there are ethical issues in, is it not? Ethical issues, commercial issues, political issues, administrative issues. So ये option based case study. They have not given you options. They are asking you to create the options. And if you want to create right options or correct options, you need to know one approach which helps you to create the options. Is that clear? Now, since last 2 to 3 years, there is a sort of irony in the case study. Means your answer size is 250 words minimum, but the length of case study is 400 plus words. So the question size is bigger than the answer size. You need to explain the question and answer the question in a limited words. और ये आपको सीखना है over a period. Are you getting my point? Now, let's look at resources right now. There is an elaborate answer. I cannot give you short answer because there are multiple options to it. There is also systemic solution. आप individually क्या करोगे ये भी important है. System ने क्या करना है ये भी है. Because this is also systemic issues. System is such that where your superior is asking you to disclose the information. So such confidential information should not be disclosed by anybody without prior approval, without due process. ये हो रहा है ना लेकिन तो सिस्टमिक इशू भी है, ये इंडिविजुअल इशू भी नहीं. So ये सब एंगल समझने के लिए आपको पहले थ्योरी पढ़नी. Okay, beforehand I tell you answer, you won't understand it because it might appear common in the answer. That is not exactly the answer. Okay, one more case study. This is thematic case study. Thematic means where you are not supposed to solve actual problem. One man show, जिसको बोलते हैं. Your system is supposed to do something. So पढ़ के देखो. So what is the crux of this case study? Environment versus development. Simple. And solution is given itself there. Sustainable development. सिर्फ आपको क्या चाहिए? सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट के प्रिंसिपल का अवेयरनेस चाहिए. अगर वो प्रिंसिपल आपके आंसर में आ जाएंगे सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट के, then your answer is on the line of expected answer. Is that clear? Answer is given in the question itself. कि वो बोल रहे हैं which could lead to sustainable development. So you already have principles of sustainable development, internationally decided, nationally agreed. Once you incorporate them into practical solutions and strategies, your answer is ready. So sometimes some of the case studies are testing your general awareness along with ethical dimensions. Is that clear? All right. Now let's go for resources. Now, unfortunately, as far as ethics is concerned, there are no NCERT books on moral philosophy. Okay. So if you want to study moral philosophy from textbooks, then write down State Board, Maharashtra State Board textbooks of 11th and 12th standard. Maharashtra State Board textbooks of 11th and 12th standards of philosophy. तो उसमें आपको selective chapters जो ethics के हैं वो पढ़ने. Okay, and these are available both in Marathi as well as English on websites डाउनलोड के लिए. So ई बाल भारती का जो वेबसाइट है वहां आपको ई बुक्स मिल जाएंगी. Okay, next resource, write down There is a book known as Justice by Michael Sandel. Now it is also available in Marathi. इसका translation हुआ है. Justice by Michael Sandel. Now Michael Sandel is a professor of Harvard University. Okay, और उनके जो lectures है on the same book, they are also available on YouTube. So if you read the book along with lectures, it will lead to nice understanding. Along with that, some of the part will be replicated in the classroom itself in a simplified format. So this resource will help you in moral philosophy based topics, especially Western thinkers. So ये book का इस्तेमाल किस point के लिए करना है? Western thinkers. जो हमारा left column है, उसमें जो thinkers का part है, Western thinkers, that will be covered from this. Okay, moral philosophy, Western thinkers. Second resource is psychology, books of NCERT 11-12 standard. This covers social psychology based topics like attitude and emotional intelligence. But you need to read again selected chapters. You need not read entire book for the sake of GS score. But as a curious person, you can read entire books also. In 11th standard, you need to read 9 chapter. 9th chapter. 11th standard, 9th chapter. And 12th standard, 6th and 7th chapter. 6th and 7th chapter. These 3 chapters are in. Third and authoritative resources, second ARC's 4th report, Ethics in Governance. ARC means Administrative Reforms Commission. Administrative Reforms Commission. Again, here we'll go for selective content, and this will cover our public administration based topics. Third column. Fourth, Good Practices Handbook by Niti Aayog. So this book gives you examples of good work done by local administration. So ये compilation, जो local administration होता है, district, तहसील, इन्होंने जो अच्छा काम किया है, उसके examples आपको वहां से. Moreover, every year in our country, good governance awards are given. Are you familiar with this? Good governance awards, right now. Good governance award data, ये आपको पास जाएगी. उसमें भी अच्छे जो काम किए होते हैं, good governance awards, वो आपको मिलते हैं. Okay, so good work done by administrators. Next resource will be study material, which will cover remaining topics which are not covered earlier resources. But again, you'll have to use this selectively. Okay. वो आपको मिल जाएगा. Then there is another book for answer writing. Sometimes it happens that even if you cover syllabus, writing answer is altogether different ball game. You need to understand techniques of answer writing, how to write answer, how to avoid mistakes, how to understand demand of the question. तो उसके लिए एक book हमने publish किया है यूनिक एकेडमी में. उसका नाम है Ethics, Integrity, Aptitude, Answer Writing in Essential Guide. All right. So these are enough, more than enough. Because this is dynamic oriented paper, no resource is going to give you direct answers. What you need to understand from these resources are concepts, definitions, their linkage. But rest of the part is about understanding the correlation between current affair and concept and their application. Is that clear? All right, so preparation part is over. Now next part is how to excel. For that you need to understand why aspect, why GST, क्यों introduce किया, उसका obvious reason क्या है? To check candidates ethics, आपका morality check करना है. What kind of person you are, what are your values, what are your beliefs, what are your notions, views about the world. But next question is, can you check this through a written answer? What do you think? Is it possible to decide who is the person by looking at his or her answers? अगर आप कल पेपर लिखोगे तो मुझे मालूम होगा क्या आपके बारे में, who you are actually? No. Sometimes people may write what is not true. They may write what examiner expects. Is it not? So suppose I am a kind of person who is patriarchal. Would I show my patriarchy in my answers? No, I would obviously vouch for women empowerment, gender equality. Is it not? If there is a question about dowry, I would obviously write that there should not be any dowry. It is a crime, even though I am going to commit once I become officer. Is it not? This को हम बोलते politically correctly. है ना? ये हो सकता है. People don't show what they are actually. Sometimes they would show false picture. और ये भी हो सकता है, आपको example मालूम होगा, जिसको हम बोलते हैं possibility of deception. That an IPS officer was caught doing copy in main exam. He was selected for IPS, but he was giving next attempt to improve the rank and become IAS in Hyderabad. And he was using Bluetooth technology to write answers in main exam. And do you know, he was topper of ethics in earlier attempt. Don't you think this is embarrassing to UPSC as well? किस गधे को हमने टॉपर बना दिया? आपको समझ में आ रहा है? ये हो सकता है, possibility of deception है. But do you think that many people are able to do this? That everybody can outsmart UPSC? No, not everyone. Is it not? Inconsistency आ जाता है. पहले कुछ आंसर आप सोच के लिखोगे, but बाद में जो अंदर है वो बाहर आ जाता है ना? आप टाइम मैनेजमेंट देखो. In section A, you get hardly 7 minutes to read, think, and write. And then there is a time pressure, anxiety, thinking. Not every question has ready-made answer for you, right? आपको सोचना तो है कुछ देर के लिए, उसमें वक्त चला जाता है. So if they observe inconsistency in your responses, they decide not to take. समझ में आ रहा है? Second possibility ये है theory practice divide. So मानो आज आप अच्छे हो इंसान, is it not? Your character is good, your values are good, your habits are good, your past is good. But is that a guarantee that your future is also going to be same? Sometimes power corrupts people. Is it not? Once they acquire power, they change. Is it not? ऐसा होता है ना कि लोग corrupt हो जाते हैं. They succumb to pressure sometimes. They succumb to temptation. इतना power कभी नहीं देखा है, इतना privilege कभी नहीं देखा है, इतना पैसा कभी नहीं देखा. So they may change. So अगर इतना सारा हो सकता है और ये हमें समझ में आ रहा है, तो यूपीएससी को समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. What do you think? जो लोग उधर बैठे हैं, उनका वर्क एक्सपीरियंस हमारे एज से ज्यादा है. Is it not? 40+ is their work experience. इतना साल उन्होंने बिताया है सिस्टम में. So don't you think that they understand people? Of course they understand. Of course they understand all these things. And despite all this, they are giving you an opportunity to write this paper. Why? Because they believe people can change. People can change for good. So even if you are not aware of what are the values, what are the ethics, what are the morality, you can learn. And because this subject is not formally taught in schools and colleges. Whatever good you get is a part of upbringing, and it is not automatic also. It is based on chance, sometimes not based on choice. आपको समझ में आ रहा है? तो ये चांस बेस क्यों होना चाहिए? ये चॉइस बेस होना चाहिए. You should choose your values. You should choose your morality. ये अपॉर्चुनिटी वो आपको दे, despite knowing all these policies. ये pitfall जो है, ये मालूम होने के बाद भी वो आपको बोल रहे कि लिखो, हमें देखने दो what kind of person you are. They are also calling you for interview. They want to see you for 30 minutes. They want to interact with you. They want to observe you before they are going to select you. Are you getting my point? So, yeah, opportunity. And if you are not going to take benefit of that opportunity and going to deceive the UPSC, then as Gandhi said, deceivers ultimately deceive themselves. Is it not? आप किसी और को फंसा नहीं रहे, आप खुद को फंसा रहे. Okay, so let's look at what are the demands of the paper. Okay, so as a subject, there are 4 key demands. One is to reinforce values. So बहुत बार ऐसा होता है ना, हमें लगता है हमारी कुछ values है. Do you believe that you have got some values? Yes, you believe, right? Honesty, for example. Some people may have punctuality. Some people may have tolerance, empathy, openness, so on and so forth. But have you really deeply thought about these values? Have you consolidated these values? Because values are tested when there is a challenging time, when there is a pressure, when there is a crisis. जब सब normal होता है ना, तब कोई भी value demonstrate कर सकता है. Do you agree? सब अच्छा चल रहा है life में. Anybody can claim a virtuous life. But जब 4 दिन खाना नहीं मिलेगा, then virtue maintain करना बहुत difficult होता है. Are you getting my point? So this exam is an opportunity to you to think about your own values and to reinforce them, to consolidate them, to strengthen them, so that they would remain intact even in crisis. Are you getting my point? So this is first objective. Second is to help you to critically examine the moral practices of your own group from which you come. So ऐसा बहुत बार होता है ना, जहां से हम आते हैं वहां जो हो रहा है वो बहुत बार हमें सही लगता है. Do you agree? आपको ऐसा लगता है क्या? जिस ग्रुप से हम आ रहे हैं, कम्युनिटी, वहां जो हो रहा है एज अ प्रैक्टिस, वो हमें सही लगता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इन सर्टेन पार्ट ऑफ महाराष्ट्र, taking and giving dowry is normal. Do you agree? So how many of you are from Marathwada? So does it not happen there? Yes, even in common middle class family, 8 to 10 lakh is nothing. Are you getting my point? Now suppose a youth decides not to take a dowry. What does the society say there? क्या बोलती है सोसाइटी उसको? कि तुझ में ही कुछ इश्यू है. That's why you are not accepting the dowry. So think, if a person is brought up in such an environment, would he or she think that dowry is a wrong thing? Possibility कम है ना. मैं ऐसा नहीं बोलूँगा कि सब कहेंगे, exception होंगे, लेकिन majority will say yes, dowry is the right thing. है ना? ऐसे बहुत सारी चीजें हैं हमारी सोसाइटी में. Even today, child marriages are rampant in certain part of India. Are you aware of this? Child marriages अभी भी होते हैं. In a state, progressive state like Maharashtra, अभी भी होते. बताओ. तो अगर आपने ये देखा होगा, तो आपको भी लगा होगा कि ये सही है. हो सकता है ना? If you have been seeing this all around like that. आपको एक इंटरेस्टिंग चीज बताओ. Few months back there was a survey in India. उसको बोलते हैं NFHS सर्वे, नेशनल फैमिली हेल्थ सर्वे. ये हमेशा होता है. तो उस सर्वे में they had interviewed married women, and one question was asked: Is beating by husband good for wife? ये सवाल पूछा था. So do you think what would have said by women? 51% of women had said yes, it is good for wife if a husband beats her. Read it, it is available. Now can you imagine a person who gets beating says it is good for wife herself if a husband beats her? ये क्यों हो रहा है बताओ. ये socialization जो है, so sometimes socialization, upbringing makes you to believe wrong things as right thing. Now UPSC also knows this, and it is giving you an opportunity to critically examine your own practices. आप उसको अगर एक्सेप्ट करना चाहते हो तो पहले उसको एग्जामिन करो कि ये सच में सही है गलत है, या सिर्फ समाज कह रहा है इसलिए हम सही कर रहे हैं, समाज कह रहा है इसलिए हम गलत कह रहे हैं. Then that's not right. Is that clear? Third, to help resolve moral dilemma. So बहुत बार लाइफ में moral dilemma आता है. What is dilemma? That you are confronted with two choices which are equally tough. Is it not? So ऐसे dilemma कैसे handle कर रहे हैं? जैसे बहुत बार ऐसे केसेस आते हैं that you are a police officer and one day your case of your own brother comes to you. Now there is a dilemma. As an officer, you are supposed to uphold certain values, but as a family, you are supposed to take care of your own brother. Are you getting my point? So इसका प्रोसेस आपको मालूम है क्या? ये आपको सीखने के लिए अपॉर्चुनिटी. Because sometimes we learn it by chance, by observing someone, but not everyone may get that chance. So आपको through studying some text, you get that an opportunity. And finally, to overcome traditional biases and prejudices. Now, Indian society is a classic example of this, is it not? Even though we don't have experience of other communities, we tend to form opinion about them. ऐसा होता है क्या? हमें कास्ट के बारे में एक्सपीरियंस नहीं. कभी आपने दूसरे कास्ट के लोगों के साथ ज्यादा वक्त बिताया है क्या? Like family. बहुत कम बार होता है ना? You most of the time spend time with your own same community members. And because of that, the belief about other people are not rational, are not based on facts, are not based on real experiences. They are based on hearsay. कहीं सुनी बातों पे हम ओपिनियन बना लेते हैं, है ना? तो ये इससे क्या होता है? प्रिजुडाइसेस क्रिएट होते हैं, बायसेस क्रिएट होते हैं. इस पे आपको क्या करना है? ओवरकम करना है. You need to overcome. Why? Because if you are patriarchal, say, if you are biased about women, would you be able to work for women empowerment? बताओ. अगर आप कास्टिस्ट हो, you know कास्टिस्ट, परोक्ष आइडेंटिटी को मानने वाले हो, एक ही कास्ट सुपीरियर है, बाकी सब इंफीरियर है. Would you believe in caste equality and reducing caste discrimination? No. So ये जो prejudices है, जिसको irrational basis होते हैं, इसको ओवरकम करना. So ये opportunity आपको, because it doesn't happen automatically. Let me tell you, this is the fact of Indian society. आज भी पढ़े लिखे लोग carry many biases and prejudices about others without having rational basis. Rational means facts नहीं है, खुद का experience नहीं, सिर्फ किसी ने बोला है इसलिए वो हाँ बोल. Do you think is that the right way to decide about others? No. So that is an opportunity. Now next, as a paper, there are 4 objectives. One is to check your conviction. जो आप लिख रहे हो, are you convinced of what you are saying, or are you saying just for the sake of saying? ये conviction आपका चेक करना है. What we call in Marathi ठामपणा. तुम्ही जे लिहित आहे त्यामध्ये ठामपणा आहे का? That they need to check. Second, they want to check your spontaneous responses. Why spontaneous? Because there is less time to manufacture a beautiful answer. So what is inside should come outside. And that is your duty, to put something good inside so that it will come eventually out. Does it not? Third, to check your reconciliation of the ideal and practical. Why this is important? Because sometimes ideal जो होता है वो impractical issues create करता है. Ideal means conceptual. सिर्फ concept पढ़ के कुछ नहीं होगा, उसको practice में भी लाना है. For example, if you talk alone about transparency, but do not think about how to put it in practice, will it work? So you need to have mechanism to put transparency into practice. So ये reconciliation जो है, ये आपको आता है कि नहीं? Are you able to have this reconciliation? And finally, to check your moral views about the world. कि moral perspective आपका कैसा है? कैसे perceive कर रहे हो morality? Do you think it is useful thing? Do you think it is unnecessary thing? Do you think it is an instrumental thing? Do you think it is innate thing? Yeah, आपका moral perception. So these are the key demands of GS4. What they are looking into your answers. Why they are asking you to study this subject. Is that clear? ये आपको समझ में आ रहा है कि key objective क्या है GS4? Now, how to fulfill those objectives? So there are certain do's and don'ts. आपको ये लिख के लेने do's and don'ts of fulfilling the objective. And you need to keep all this in mind throughout your exam. So पहला देखो, whenever you are giving example, give them authentic, means from current affairs, well known, known to many. Okay. On the other hand, avoid giving cliched example. Cliched means insipid, sometimes imaginary, sometimes read on social media. What we call kalpanik, too generic. ऐसे नहीं करना. करंट अफेयर का अवेयरनेस आपके पास है, वो आपको दिखाना है. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट, योर जस्टिफिकेशंस टू सपोर्ट योर चॉइसेस शुड बी वेल थॉट आउट. सो वेल थॉट आउट हम किसको बोलते हैं? Where you are applying your mind from all sides, where you are trying to go deep enough, where you are trying to compare things, where you are trying to come up with facts, evidences to justify what you are saying. समझ में आ रहा है? कैजुअल जस्टिफिकेशन क्या होता है? रिपीटेटिव होता है. वही चीज आप बार बार दोहराएं विदाउट सब्सटेंस. ऐसे नहीं होना चाहिए. वेल थॉट आउट में क्या होता है? यू सर्च फॉर एविडेंसेस, यू सर्च फॉर लॉजिक, यू सर्च फॉर कनेक्शन, यू सर्च फॉर डायमेंशंस. लेकिन ये जो कैजुअल है, इसमें क्या होता है? यू से सेम थिंग अगेन एंड अगेन एंड अगेन विदाउट एनी सब्सटेंस. ये नहीं होना चाहिए. इज दैट क्लियर? नेक्स्ट थिंग, whenever you give definitions, they should be precise. Precise का मतलब क्या है? According to context of the question. क्योंकि किसी भी concept की एक definition नहीं होती. Are you getting my point? जैसे democracy की, सिर्फ अब्राहम लिंकन ने बोला है, वही का मतलब democracy है क्या? So there are different dimensions to democracy. Is it not? So आपको क्या करना है? सवाल कैसे पूछा है, किस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में पूछा है, उसके लिए अप्रोप्रिएट डेफिनेशन कौन सा है, वो चूज करना मतलब प्रिसाइज डेफिनेशन. On the other hand, what people do, they use vague definition or generic definition. Generic means which is used everywhere. ये नहीं होना चाहिए. Because if you do it, examiner understands that you have not understood demand of the question. So आपको demand समझ लेनी है, and accordingly you have to use definition to clarify things. Is that clear? Next point. Whenever you write answers, show its linkage to current affairs, application to current affairs. Because after all, this is general studies paper, is it not? So आपको awareness भी दिखाना है. And try to avoid dense and theoretical answers. Dense and theoretical means सिर्फ thinker ने क्या कहा है, theory क्या बोल रही है. That is not demand. Okay. What they are demanding here, understanding of theory and its application. All right. And finally, your answer should reflect your conviction. Your answer should show that what you write, you mean it. On the other hand, your answer should not appear like superficial description, superficial statement. ज्याला आपण मराठीत म्हणतो कृत्रिमपणा, बेगडीपणा. Is it not? That should not be there. So these are some of the do's and don'ts you need to keep in mind while writing answers to score well marks, to score better marks. And final message, making right choice is not enough. You should be able to justify your choice, convince the examiner about it. And that depends on your justification and examples. Okay. So you have to take special extra efforts in building your justifications about your choices as well as good examples. And that is what the key preparation of ethics. So सिर्फ theory पढ़ना ये preparation नहीं है. उसके ऊपर justification build करना, उसके लिए relevant example compile करना, ये भी preparation. And if you do that, you are better in things as far as your competitive exams. Is that clear? So this is where our discussion ends. Now I'll try to discuss some of the frequently asked questions, and then you can ask me your questions, your doubt. Okay? Is this clear so far? What are the objectives and how to fulfill those objectives? Okay, next part is frequently asked questions. So these are some of the questions that are frequently asked. So first one is, many times aspirant ask me, sir, right wrong ऐसा कुछ होता है क्या? है ना? Is it not? It differs from person to person. एक को जो right लग रहा है वो दूसरों के wrong लग रहा है. ऐसा हो सकता है ना? लेकिन ethics के पेपर में नहीं. Ethics में ऐसे सवाल आपको आते हैं जिसके लिए clearly right wrong answer. क्योंकि अगर ऐसा होता, then how would you decide which answer is better? Is it not? एक को मैं right बोल रहा हूँ, उसको आप wrong बोल रहे हो, ये wrong बोल रहा है, ये right बोल रहा है. So would there be consensus? Very difficult, is it not? So as far as your ethics is concerned, there are clearly right and wrong answers. Keep in mind. Of course, there are certain issues in ethics area which are not yet settled. Are you getting my point? जैसे इंडिया में देखो, होमोसेक्सुअलिटी पे अभी तक हम सेटल है क्या एज ए सोसाइटी? नहीं है ना. अभी भी बहुत सारे लोगों को लगता है ना ये गलत चीज है. Even though law has settled the issue, but still as a society we have not evolved. मैरिटल रेप के बारे में आपने डिबेट सुना होगा, है ना? अभी भी कंसेंसस है क्या उसके बारे में? नहीं है. यूथेनेशिया के बारे में, have you heard about यूथेनेशिया? अभी है क्या कंसेंसस उसके बारे में? We have passive euthanasia, but we don't have active euthanasia. So what does it indicate? There are certain gray areas where there are no conclusive answers even with experts. तो आपको ऐसे एरिया नहीं देंगे, आपको वही एरिया देंगे जहां सेटल डिबेट. Are you getting my point? Where there is a debate is settled. So they are not expecting you to be physicist. They are not expecting you to be psychologist or even administrator. They want you to be generally aware of all this, not expert like. तो जिसको बोलते हैं master of all, jack of all, master of none. ये आपको बोलना है. ठीक है? So first question, right wrong answer इसमें होते हैं clearly. वो ऐसे ही सवाल पूछेंगे जिसके बारे में settled answer. Second, answer कैसे लिखने हैं? Idealistic या practical? Again, people misunderstand idealistic as impractical. No. Idealistic means by keeping ideals in front of, driven by ideals. But driven by ideals doesn't mean being impractical. Okay, so what you need is reconciliation of ideal and practical. To be able to put ideas into practice. That is the key. So आप सिर्फ ऐसे नहीं बोलना चाहिए मैं करप्शन खत्म कर दूं. That is idealistic. Is it not? ये अब तक हुआ नहीं और होगा भी नहीं. If you have heard Chanakya, have you heard about Chanakya Kautilya? His treatise on economics. So in that treatise, he says, to detect corruption in administration is as difficult as to detect when the fish has drunk the water. So इतना difficult है. So आप eliminate नहीं कर सकते. So आप क्या कर सकते हो? उसको reduce कर सकते. And for that you need to suggest some practical guidelines. ये जो reconciliation है, ये आपको आना चाहिए. So answers are never been idealistic or practical. They are reconciliation of things. Is that clear? Okay, third. Do we have to quote philosophers in all answers? Not necessary, because this is a test of your own ethics. You can take support of philosophers, but should not take all the time. Are you getting my point? So that is not expected. So avoid that deliberately. Fourth, will taking philosophy as an optional helps in ethics? Absolutely not. Because philosophy as an optional has different demand. Okay, ethics as a GS paper has different demand. So never ever go for optional just because it helps in GS. The only criteria to be used to select optional is your liking towards the subject, your interest in the subject, because you need to go more deep into the optional than in GS. Are you getting my point? So आपका interest होगा उस subject में तभी जाओ. GS के लिए उसको मत चुनो. Is that clear? Fifth, is it necessary to use jargon and philosophical terms all the time? No. Because this is general study paper, you can write your answer in plain, simple English, provided you are using key terms related to that topic. But the language has to be simple, plain English, not jargons of philosophy. Is that clear? समझ में आ रहा है? Because this is general study paper. Sometimes it happens, those who have Paul Science optional or those who have Bapat optional or those who have sociology optional. Sometimes they bring the language of optional into the general studies. That has to be strictly avoided. Is that clear? That dichotomy you need to. Next, can we use diagrams and flowchart? Of course you can, because that breaks the monotony of the writing. But it should be relevant, is it not? Just for the sake of giving diagram, you should not draw the diagram. Are you getting my point? So whatever flowchart diagram you are incorporating in your answer, it should be relevant. It should be making sense. What is the purpose of diagram? To simplify the explanation. Is it not? The explanation which is going to take too much space, you are making it compact through diagram. वो purpose होना चाहिए. तो तभी आप diagram use करो. Next, should I give arguments from both the sides? Again, it depends on demand. If the question is critical examination, then argument from both sides is asked. But if the question is asking you to take a stand and then justify, then you cannot take both stands. Then it would amount to not understanding demand of the question. So आपको demand देखनी है सवाल की, question की, और फिर decide करना है कि आपको क्या explain करना है. Is that clear? Okay, example देते वक्त जो politician है, leader है, उनके नाम लेना है क्या? तो लेना है. But provided there is no question mark about what they have done. जो sub judice है, sub judice means in the court still pending matter, उसको आप declare मत करो as a judge कि ऐसा ही हुआ है. Are you getting my point? So जो settled matter है, जहाँ corruption के लिए punishment हुआ है, there you can clearly mention name and give example. No doubt about it. Okay. Okay, writing. Should it be bullet point or paragraph? Again, each style is used in different situations. Bullet points are preferable where you are supposed to give list of something, like list of solutions, factors. But if you are supposed to give logical argument, which has some flow or expected to have flow, then use paragraphs. Okay. So bullet points used for listing, paragraphs are used for arguments. And last, reasonable score to target. So far, the highest in ethics is 153 out of 250. But if you observe the mark sheets of toppers, first 100, first 50, then they are above 110. Okay, 110 plus आप reasonably target कर सकते हो, 120 भी कर सकते हो. But if you want to target that much, then 110 के लिए at least आपको 220 का attempt करना है. Excellent manner. 50% score is excellent score in humanities. Okay, so आपको कितना target करना है? 220 attempt करना है minimum. उसके लिए case study सब करने, because if you leave case study, then 25 marks are lost suddenly. 20-25 marks. So all case study need to be attempted, and majority of section. So 220 attempt करोगे अच्छे से तो 110 मिल जाएंगे. 250 अच्छे से करोगे तो 125 पर ही जाओगे, और अच्छे से और लिखोगे तो 130 भी क्रॉस कर सकते. ठीक है, but that needs practice, study, hard work, and deliberate preparation. All right. So whatever I wanted to discuss today is over from my part. Now I am welcome. I'm open to your questions. Go ahead. जो भी पूछना है एग्जाम के बारे में, प्रिपरेशन के बारे में, रिसोर्सेज के बारे में, स्ट्रेटेजी के बारे में, any सवाल, anything you want to ask, you are welcome. Go ahead. Online people, you can ask in chat box. आप chat box में सवाल पूछे, या फिर you can raise your hand. I will unmute. Go ahead. We have few minutes, so I want to make use of time. कुछ भी पूछना है पूछो, no issue. Never hold back you yourself from asking any question, no matter how much silly it might appear, because hiding ignorance is very dangerous. पूछो. हाँ. Start with textbooks, syllabus, and PYQs. PYQs immediately समझ में नहीं आएंगे, लेकिन textbook and syllabus you can correlate. हाँ, ई बाल भारती में जो फिलोसॉफी का 11-12 का है, वो लेके इथिक्स का जो चैप्टर है वो पढ़ो. ठीक है. एंड दिस जस्टिस बाय माइकल सैंडल इज इंटरेस्टिंग. उसका यूट्यूब सीरीज देखना शुरू है, वो भी इंटरेस्टिंग है. देयर इज अ डिबेट बिटवीन हिम एंड स्टूडेंट्स ओवर देयर, तो वो देखने के लिए अच्छा है. उससे बहुत सारा समझ में आता है. विद सबटाइटल्स यू कैन वॉच दैट एंड अंडरस्टैंड. All good. Online people, do you have anything to ask? If you don't have anything, please let me know. Okay, then we'll stop then. All right. मेंस के कौन से भी ले लो, मेनली हिस्ट्री ले लो, बिकॉज यू शुड बिगिन विथ हिस्ट्री, है ना, वो बैकग्राउंड देता है आपको सब. ओके, एंड देन यू कैन गो फॉर ज्योग्राफी, इकोनॉमिक्स, एज यू लाइक. हिस्ट्री ले लो मेनली. ये जीएस के जो मेन 4 सब्जेक्ट है, इसको पहले खत्म करो बाय रीडिंग एनसीईआरटी, एटलीस्ट कैच जो है हिस्ट्री, पॉलिटी, ज्योग्राफी, इकोनॉमिक्स, ये फाउंडेशन. इसके ऊपर मेनी टाइम्स वी आर गोइंग टू मेंशन ऑल दिस 4 इन आवर डिस्कशंस. सो आपको उसका अवेयरनेस भी होना चाहिए, बेसिक awareness. टेबल चाहिए वो, PYQs. ओके, जस्ट मिनट. Examples are you saying? Which question are you talking about? There are plenty examples, but you need to know theory first. वो कौन से theory से example आने चाहिए, ये आपको मालूम होना चाहिए. ये जो पहला वाला sentence है, वो कुछ कौन से schools of thought से आ रहा है, ये आपको मालूम होना चाहिए पहले. Then you can use example relevant to that school of thought. Examples ही आपको, क्योंकि they are talking about implementation in public life. So how will you explain it without example? Example चाहिए. Sustainable development. Yes, but वो system oriented चाहिए. What system should be? What law should be? एक इंडिविजुअल नहीं कर सकता वो. So ये जो thematic issue based case study है ना, वो systemic रहते हैं बहुत बार, which one person cannot solve, even if prime minister. वो अकेले सॉल्व नहीं कर सकते, उसके लिए सिस्टम वैसी होनी चाहिए. पहले क्लास में क्या होता है, हर एक टॉपिक के बाद में हम आंसर राइटिंग करते हैं, तो उस वक्त ठीक है. लेकिन अगर इलैबोरेट करना है, तो वंस योर कोर्स इज ओवर, आई गिव यू शॉर्ट नोट्स अबाउट हाउ टू प्रिपेयर नोट्स. नोट्स प्रिपरेशन जब कंसोलिडेशन हो जाएगा, तब यू शुड राइट PYQs एक्सटेंसिव, क्योंकि होलिस्टिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ सब्जेक्ट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. टॉपिकल अंडरस्टैंडिंग सिर्फ काम नहीं आता. And once PYQs are written, then next and final stage is mock test. So 4 stage में preparation होता है: course, notes making, PYQs and mock test. Mock test जब हो जाता है, you are confident of writing mains. So first you should spend at least 10 to 12 months on main exam. Once you are sure of main exam after writing mock test, you should go for prelims. And for prelims, as a fresher, you need to give at least 5 to 6 months. Okay, but don't waste your first attempt. Let me tell you again and again. जो टॉपर होते हैं ना, वो कभी अपना फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट नहीं ये करते. फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट में आपको कम से कम इंटरव्यू स्टेज तक जाना है, एंड फॉर दैट यू नीड इलैबोरेट प्लानिंग एंड पेशेंस. जो अटेम्प्ट आएगा वो मुझे देना है. ये अगर आप गड़बड़ करोगे, हेस्ट क्रिएट्स वेस्ट. ये आप सिंपली ध्यान में रखो. सो प्लान वेल, एग्जीक्यूट वेल एंड अचीव योर गोल. आपको सिस्टमैटिकली ही जाना है. It's marathon, it's not a sprint, short sprint. ये नहीं है. थोड़ा patience. हाँ.
When we should start making use of the material, like
it depends on the difficulty level for you. If a subject is easy, you understand it well, you should start in first reading itself. Notes making के अलग अलग purpose होते हैं. In some of the subjects, the text itself is difficult. Then to simplify it, you write notes. कुछ टेक्स्ट इलैबोरेट होते हैं, which is unnecessary. So to make it crisp, you write notes. उल्टा भी होता है, कुछ टेक्स्ट क्रिस्प होते हैं, लेकिन उसको एक्सपांड भी करना है. So to expand that, you write notes. So depending on the difficulty level for you and the requirement of the subject, you should start writing notes. So even if you don't start writing notes in first instance, at least you can identify important points after the underline. And then in second reading, you go for notes. That will also be revision for you. सो ये अलग अलग होगा, हर एक सब्जेक्ट का सेम नहीं होगा। ठीक है, see, let me tell you one thing, each one of you comes from unique background. आपके किसी का भी बैकग्राउंड सेम नहीं, in every respect. Even if education is same, your parents are different, your region is different, your upbringing is different, your life experiences are different. So your strategy must be in line with your reality. आप खुद को एनालाइज करो, योर स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट ऑफ स्टडी शुड बी यू, कि मैं कहाँ हूं और मुझे कहाँ जाना है। ये 2 पॉइंट पहले समझ, देन जर्नी बिकम्स इजी। समझ में आ रहा है आपको? सो खुद को एनालाइज करो, खुद के स्ट्रेंथ्स, वीकनेसेस, उसको कैसे ओवरकम करना है, उसको कैसे लिवरेज करना है, ये आपको पहले सीखना। सो खुद को एनालाइज करो, एंड दैट्स व्हाई यू शुड रीड नोटिफिकेशन फर्स्ट, कि नोटिफिकेशन में जो की डिमांड्स उन्होंने बताई वो आपके पास है क्या, नहीं है तो कैसे लाना है, इसके बारे में सोचो। स्टार्ट कंपाइलिंग योर रिसोर्सेज, स्टार्ट मेकिंग योर प्लान्स फॉर नेक्स्ट 10 और 12 मंथ्स। पहले ईयरली प्लान करो, फिर मंथली करो, मंथली से वीकली आ जाओ, वीकली से डेली आ जाओ। वो पेंसिल से करो क्योंकि रिवाइज होने वाला है। इफ यू आर hostelite, then account for disruptions like health breakdown, nostalgia, homesickness, other problems. So उसको लिए बैकलॉग भी क्रिएट होगा। इफ यू आर इन एकेडमिक ईयर, देन योर एग्जाम्स आर अराउंड द कॉर्नर, तो उसके लिए भी बैकलॉग क्रिएट होगा। ये सब अकाउंट करके आपको, देन क्रिएट राइट एनवायरनमेंट अराउंड यू, चूज द राइट सेट ऑफ पीपल अराउंड यू who would complement you and you can complement them, क्योंकि सबके पास सब स्ट्रेंथ नहीं होती है। सो कोई बंदा इकोनॉमिक्स में अच्छा है, कोई हिस्ट्री में है, कोई पॉलिटी में है, तो ऐसा ग्रुप बनाओ, कॉम्प्लीमेंट ईच अदर, मेक इट अ ग्रुप सक्सेस। क्योंकि लोनली स्टडी इज अ वेरी टीडियस जर्नी, फ्रस्ट्रेटिंग होता है। इफ यू हैव गुड सेट ऑफ फ्रेंड्स, दे कैन ऑल्सो स्ट्रेस यू, जो स्ट्रेस होता है वो कम कर देते हैं, है ना। तो राइट एनवायरनमेंट बनाओ, खुद को लीडरशिप दे दो, खुद को मोटिवेट कर दो, मोटिवेट योर फैमिली ऑल्सो, दे शुड बी ऑल्सो कॉन्ट्रीब्यूटर, है ना। बहुत बार ये भी करना होता है, काउंसलिंग करना होता है, खुद का काउंसलिंग करो, दूसरों का काउंसलिंग करो, दैट्स हाउ यू बिकम लीडर। ठीक है, सो थिंक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिवली। ये सिर्फ एग्जाम है ऐसा नहीं है, दिस इज एन अपॉर्चुनिटी टू ग्रूम योरसेल्फ, है ना। आपका ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हो जाता है इनर आउट। अभी आप जो हो, अगर आपको चेयर दी जाएगी डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर की, वुड यू बी एबल टू वर्क? नो, यू नीड सर्टेन स्किल सेट, सर्टेन अवेयरनेस, सर्टेन डेप्थ ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग। वो आपके पास पहले आना चाहिए, वो मैच्योरिटी आना चाहिए, वो वर्ल्ड व्यू आना चाहिए, वो समझ आनी चाहिए। तो उसके लिए कॉन्शियसली आप कोशिश करो। So this is a process, beautiful process, and you should take it that way. सिर्फ एग्जाम में करके करोगे तो ये बर्डन सम हो जाता है, बिकॉज एग्जाम एंड आवर मेंटालिटी इज नेगेटिव इन एजुकेशन सिस्टम, है ना। एग्जाम पहले से हमें डरा देते हैं, is it not? Have you seen happy people going for exam? Look at the faces of people. They are under stress. Why? It should be a joyous process, is it not? So उसको joyous बना, you should enjoy what you are doing. तो उसके लिए क्यूरियस बनो, पहले जान लो, खुद को जानने की कोशिश चाहिए, इसमें क्या है, मैं क्या सीखने वाला हूँ, इससे मुझे क्या फायदा होने वाला है इन फ्यूचर, नाउ। ये सब आपके पास क्यूरियोसिटी होनी चाहिए, बट इंथुजियाज्म चाहिए, झील चाहिए, तभी ये हो पाए। टीडियस बर्डनसम होगा तो नहीं होगा। So it has been our common experience. Many people live preparation in between. Why? Because they lack all these things. See, it is not a matter of IQ. Let me tell you again. People with average IQ have become officers. Why? Because they had other qualities, which are in key qualities. So even if you have average IQ, even if your academic performance is average, doesn't matter. What you need is other qualities. And that's what they are checking. The cycle itself is more than 1 year. Is it not? So that is a matter of patience. है ना। जिनको सिर्फ पीएल में पढ़ाई करने की आदत है, उनको आदत बदलनी है, इज इट नॉट। एग्जाम 10 दिन पहले और आज पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं और पास हो रहे हैं, ऐसा ही एग्जाम नहीं है। समझ में आ रहा है आपको? सो यू नीड टू चेंज योरसेल्फ, दैट इज द की। कंपटीशन खुद के साथ है, ये हमेशा ध्यान रखो, किसी और के साथ नहीं। ओके, इफ यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस वेल, यू विल इंप्रूव योरसेल्फ नो मैटर वेयर यू आर। ओके, एनीथिंग एल्स? और कुछ पूछना है तो पूछ। ई लर्निंग, यू कैन स्टॉप द रिकॉर्डिंग। आई थिंक ई लर्निंग रिकॉर्डिंग थांबो तुम।